The Discovery. Captain Ilara Chen squinted at the holographic display, her eyes straining to make sense of the bizarre readings. The deep space exploration vessel Horizon had been probing the outer reaches of the Andromeda Galaxy for months, but nothing had prepared the crew for this. "Dr. Reeves, are you seeing this?" Ilara called out, her voice betraying a mix of excitement and apprehension. The ship's lead scientist, Dr. Marcus Reeves, floated over in the zero-gravity environment, his weathered face creased with concentration. "I've never seen anything like it, Captain. It's as if space itself is bending around that object." The object in question was a massive structure, easily the size of Earth's moon, that had appeared seemingly out of nowhere on their long-range scanners. Its surface gleamed with an otherworldly iridescence, shifting colors in a hypnotic dance that defied explanation. "Take us closer, Lieutenant Curry," Ilara ordered, her heart racing with the thrill of discovery. "But maintain safe distance protocols. We don't know what we're dealing with here." As the Horizon inched closer to the mysterious object, the crew fell into a tense silence. Years of training had prepared them for first contact scenarios, but the sheer alienness of this encounter left them all feeling woefully unprepared. Suddenly, a beam of energy shot out from the structure, enveloping the Horizon in a soft purple glow. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems went haywire. "Report," Ilara shouted, gripping her command chair tightly. Lieutenant Curry's fingers danced across his console. "All systems are operational, Captain, but we're receiving a massive data transfer. It's unlike anything I've ever seen." Dr. Reeves leaned over Curry's shoulder, his eyes widening in amazement. "Captain, this data, it appears to be blueprints. Thousands upon thousands of blueprints for ships." "Ships," Ilara echoed, her brow furrowing in confusion. "Not just any ships," Dr. Reeves breathed, his voice filled with awe. "These designs, they're incredible, impossible. They defy everything we know about physics and spaceflight." As the data transfer completed, the purple glow receded, and the massive structure began to fade from view, as if it had never existed at all. "Wait," Ilara called out uselessly. "We have so many questions." But the mysterious object had vanished, leaving behind only the enigmatic gift of its impossible blueprints. Over the next few weeks, as the Horizon made its long journey back to Earth, Dr. Reeves and his team worked tirelessly to decode and understand the alien designs. The more they uncovered, the more astounded they became. "Look at this one," Dr. Reeves said excitedly, pointing to a holographic projection floating above the lab table. "It seems to use some form of quantum entanglement for propulsion. The theoretical speeds it could achieve, it's mind-boggling." Ilara studied the design, her mind reeling at the implications. "And this one?" she asked, gesturing to another schematic. Dr. Reeves grinned like a child on Christmas morning. "That, Captain, appears to be a ship that can manipulate gravitational fields. Imagine being able to create artificial gravity wells, to bend space-time itself." As they delved deeper into the designs, patterns began to emerge. Each ship seemed to be tailored for a specific purpose, pushing the boundaries of what they thought possible in space travel. There were ships that could phase through solid matter, vessels that could harness the power of stars, and even designs for craft that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "It's as if whoever created these," Dr. Reeves mused, was trying to solve every conceivable challenge of deep space exploration. But why give this to us? Why now? Ilara had no answers, only more questions. As they approached Earth, she knew that the discovery they were bringing home would change everything. Humanity was about to take a quantum leap in technological advancement, and she couldn't shake the feeling that they were woefully unprepared for the consequences. The day before they were due to arrive at Earth, Ilara called a meeting of the senior staff in the Horizon's conference room. The air was thick with tension and excitement as she addressed her crew. "What we've discovered," she began, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil, "is nothing short of revolutionary. These designs have the potential to propel humanity into a new era of space exploration and colonization, but we must proceed with caution. Dr. Reeves nodded in agreement. The technology in these blueprints is so advanced, it might as well be magic to us. Implementing even a fraction of these designs will require a complete overhaul of our understanding of physics. Lieutenant Corey spoke up, his usual stoic demeanor cracking with excitement. But just imagine what we could do with ships like these. We could reach the farthest corners of the universe, colonize worlds we've only dreamed of. Or, interjected Commander Yara Malik, the ship's tactical officer, we could be opening ourselves up to threats we're not prepared to face. What if there are hostile species out there, waiting for us to leave the safety of our solar system? The room erupted into heated debate, each crew member voicing their hopes and fears about the discovery. Ilara let the discussion continue for a while before raising her hand for silence. "All of your points are valid," she said, looking each of her officers in the eye. "Which is why we need to approach this with a balanced perspective. Our job now is to present this discovery to Earth's governments and scientific communities. What happens next will shape the future of our entire species." As the meeting adjourned, Ilara remained behind, staring out the viewport at the star-studded expanse of space. The weight of their discovery pressed down on her shoulders like a physical force. She couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was standing on the precipice of something monumental, for better or for worse. With a deep breath, she steeled herself for the challenges ahead. Whatever the future held, she knew that the cosmos would never look the same to her again. The most outlandish ships she'd ever seen were about to become reality, and nothing would ever be the same. The Engineers' Challenge. The Global Space Initiative headquarters in Geneva was abuzz with activity. 6 months had passed since the Horizon's return, and the world's brightest minds had gathered to tackle the monumental task of deciphering and implementing the alien ship designs. Dr. Eva Patel, Earth's leading expert in theoretical physics, stood before a holographic projection of one of the more perplexing blueprints. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and deep circles under her eyes betrayed countless sleepless nights. "The problem," she explained to the assembled team, "is that these designs rely on principles we've only theorized about. We're trying to build a house without understanding the nature of the bricks." Next to her, Dr. Chen Wei, a quantum mechanics prodigy, nodded in agreement. "Take this propulsion system," he said, zooming in on a particular section of the blueprint. "It seems to utilize quantum entanglement on a macroscopic scale. We've barely managed to maintain entanglement for more than a few milliseconds in lab conditions." The room fell into a contemplative silence, broken only by the soft hum of computers and the occasional beep of incoming data. Suddenly, a voice piped up from the back of the room. "What if we're approaching this all wrong?" All heads turned to face Marina Volkov, a young engineer fresh out of Moscow State University. Her cheeks flushed red at the sudden attention, but she pressed on. "We keep trying to understand these designs through the lens of our current scientific paradigms," she continued, her voice growing stronger. "But what if we need to completely reframe our understanding of physics?" Dr. Patel's eyes lit up with interest. "Go on, Marina. What are you proposing?" Marina stepped forward, her hands moving animatedly as she spoke. "Instead of trying to force these designs to fit our understanding, why don't we use them as a starting point to develop new theories? Let's work backwards from the blueprints to the underlying principles." A murmur of excitement rippled through the room. It was a radical approach, but in the face of such advanced technology, radical thinking might be exactly what they needed. Over the next few months, the team threw themselves into this new approach with renewed vigor. They divided into specialized groups, each tackling a different aspect of the alien technology. Dr. Wei led a team focusing on the quantum entanglement propulsion system. They spent weeks running simulations, each failure bringing them closer to understanding the fundamental principles at work. "It's like learning a new language," Dr. Wei explained during one of their daily briefings. "At first, it's all nonsense, but slowly patterns emerge, and suddenly you're starting to understand." Meanwhile, Dr. Patel's group wrestled with the gravitational manipulation technology. They made breakthrough after breakthrough, each discovery sending shockwaves through the scientific community. "We're rewriting physics textbooks on a daily basis," Dr. Patel said with a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. "It's simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. But for every step forward, there were countless obstacles. Materials that could withstand the stresses of these new propulsion systems didn't exist. Computer systems capable of handling the complex calculations required for real-time space-time manipulation were beyond their current capabilities." Frustration mounted as weeks turned into months with no functional prototype in sight. Pressure from governments and private corporations, all eager to be the first to harness this new technology, only added to the stress. It was during one particularly disheartening day, after yet another failed simulation, that Marina made another breakthrough. "Look at this," she said, pulling up a holographic model of one of the simpler ship designs. "We've been so focused on the advanced technology that we've overlooked something fundamental." She zoomed in on what appeared to be the ship's outer hull. "This material, I don't think it's just for protection. What if it's an integral part of the ship's systems?" Dr. Patel leaned in, her eyes widening as she grasped Marina's insight. Of course, the hull itself could be acting as a massive quantum processor, distributing the computational load across the entire structure of the ship. This realization opened up new avenues of research. They began to see the ships not as collections of discrete systems, but as single unified entities where every component played multiple roles. Progress accelerated rapidly after that. Within weeks, they had a working prototype of a small probe utilizing some of the simpler alien technologies. The day of the first test arrived, and tension in the control room was palpable. Marina stood next to Dr. Patel, both women holding their breath as the countdown began. 3, 2, 1, initiate. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a flash of light that shouldn't have been possible in the vacuum of space, the probe vanished. Seconds ticked by, feeling like hours. Had it worked? Or had they just witnessed a catastrophic failure? Suddenly, their screens lit up with incoming data. The probe had reappeared on the far side of the moon, having covered a distance that should have taken days and near seconds. The control room erupted in cheers and tears of joy. They had done it. They had taken the first step towards making these outlandish ships a reality. As the celebration continued around her, Dr. Patel found herself staring at the alien blueprints once more. They had cracked one small part of the puzzle, but the truly mind-bending designs still loomed before them, promising even greater wonders and challenges. She felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to see Marina, her eyes shining with a mixture of pride and determination. "We did it," Marina said softly. Dr. Patel nodded, a smile tugging at her lips. "We did, but this is just the beginning. Are you ready for what comes next?" Marina's grin widened. "Absolutely. After all, we have the most outlandish ships ever seen to build. How could I not be ready for that?" As they turned back to join the celebration, both women knew that the real work was just beginning. The stars were waiting, and humanity was about to embark on its greatest adventure yet. The maiden voyage. The launch site at the edge of the Atacama Desert buzzed with anticipation. After years of tireless work, setbacks, and breakthroughs, the day had finally arrived. Humanity's first starship built using the alien blueprints was ready for its maiden voyage. The ship, christened the Odyssey, was a sight to behold. Its sleek, almost organic design defied conventional aerospace aesthetics. The hull shimmered with an iridescent sheen, the quantum-infused materials reacting to the slightest changes in light and energy. Captain Ilara Chen, the woman who had first discovered the alien artifact, stood at the base of the ship, her hand resting on its cool surface. She could feel a faint vibration, almost like a heartbeat, pulsing through the hull. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Dr. Ava Patil approached, a tablet in her hand displaying the final pre-flight checks. Ilara nodded, a mix of excitement and trepidation churning in her stomach. I still can't quite believe we did it. When we found those blueprints, I never imagined I'd be captaining the first ship." "Well," Ava smiled, "there's no one better qualified. You ready to make history?" With a deep breath, Ilara squared her shoulders. "As ready as I'll ever be." The boarding process was swift and efficient. The crew, a hand-picked team of the brightest minds and most skilled operators, moved with purpose, each acutely aware of the monumental task ahead. As Ilara settled into the captain's chair on the bridge, she marveled at the unconventional layout. Instead of traditional control panels, the ship's systems were integrated directly into the structure. Holographic displays shimmered into existence around her, responding to her thoughts almost before she could vocalize commands. "All systems check out, Captain," reported Lieutenant Corey, who had insisted on joining this mission after serving with Ilara on the horizon. "We're ready for launch on your mark." Ilara took one last look around the bridge, meeting the eyes of each crew member. She saw in them the same mix of excitement and nervousness that she felt herself. "Let's make history," she said, her voice steady. "Initiate launch sequence." Unlike conventional rockets, the Odyssey's departure was eerily quiet. There was no roar of engines, no violent shaking. Instead, a soft hum filled the air, and the ship began to rise, smoothly and silently, as if gravity itself had decided to make an exception just for them. As they ascended through the atmosphere, Ilara felt a slight pressure, like a gentle hand pressing her back into her seat. Then suddenly, they were in space, the blue marble of Earth shrinking rapidly behind them. "Remarkable," Dr. Marcus Reeves breathed, his eyes fixed on the readings before him. "We've achieved escape velocity with minimal energy expenditure. The gravitational manipulation systems are performing beyond our highest expectations." Ilara allowed herself a small smile. "Excellent. Prepare for our first FTL jump. Let's see what this ship can really do." The crew worked in perfect synchronization, their months of training paying off as they prepared the Odyssey for its first faster-than-light journey. The destination: Alpha Centauri, Earth's nearest stellar neighbor. FTL drive spinning up, Lieutenant Corey announced. "Ready on your mark, Captain." Ilara took a deep breath. This was it, the moment of truth. Engage. For a split second, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the universe outside their viewports smeared into a kaleidoscope of light and color. Ilara felt a momentary sensation of being stretched, as if every atom of her body was being pulled in 1,000 different directions at once. Just as quickly, the feeling passed. "Jump complete," Corey reported, his voice tinged with awe. "We've arrived at Alpha Centauri." A stunned silence fell over the bridge. The journey, which should have taken years even with their most advanced conventional propulsion, had been completed in mere moments. As the crew erupted into cheers and congratulations, Ilara felt a wave of profound emotion wash over her. They had done it. They had crossed a threshold that would forever change the course of human history. But their elation was short-lived. As they began to conduct their survey of the Alpha Centauri system, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. "Captain," Corey called out, his fingers flying over his console. "We're detecting a massive energy surge. It's coming from the ship itself." Before Ilara could respond, the Odyssey lurched violently. The sleek lines of the hull began to ripple and shift, as if the very structure of the ship was coming alive. "What's happening?" Ilara demanded, struggling to maintain her composure as chaos erupted around her. Dr. Reeves' face had gone pale as he studied the readings pouring in. "It's as if the ship is trying to reconfigure itself. But we never designed it to do that." As they watched in horror and fascination, parts of the ship began to transform. New structures grew and formed, while others seemed to dissolve and reshape themselves. It was as if the Odyssey was evolving before their very eyes. "Captain," Dr. Patel's voice came over the comm, tight with tension. "I think I know what's happening. The ship, it's responding to the unique conditions of this star system. It's adapting itself to optimize for the local space-time fabric." Ilara gripped her chair tightly as the ship continued to shake and transform around them. "Can we stop it?" "I don't think we should," Dr. Petal replied. "This could be a built-in feature of the alien design, an ability to adapt to any environment it encounters." As suddenly as it had begun, the transformation ceased. The alarms fell silent, and an eerie calm settled over the ship. "Status report," Ilara ordered, her voice barely above a whisper. One by one, her crew reported in. Miraculously, all systems were functioning, many showing significant improvements in efficiency and capability. As the initial shock wore off, excitement began to build once again. They had not only traveled to another star system in the blink of an eye, but had also witnessed their ship evolve and adapt in ways they had never imagined possible. Ilara leaned back in her chair, her mind reeling from the implications. They had set out to test the most outlandish ship ever built, only to discover that it was even more extraordinary than they had dared to hope. As the Odyssey hung in space, its newly reconfigured form glinting in the light of Alpha Centauri, Ilara knew that their journey was just beginning. What other wonders and challenges awaited them in the vast, unknown reaches of the universe? With a mixture of trepidation and exhilaration, she gave her next order. "Prepare for our return jump to Earth. It's time to report our findings, and prepare for what comes next." The Odyssey's maiden voyage had opened up a new chapter in human history, one filled with untold possibilities and potential dangers. As they prepared for the jump home, Ilara couldn't help but wonder, were they truly ready for the cosmic ocean they had just set sail upon? The galactic reaction. The news of the Odyssey's successful maiden voyage spread across Earth like wildfire. Humanity celebrated this monumental achievement, their collective imagination ignited by the possibilities that lay before them. But as Earth rejoiced, ripples of their triumph were spreading far beyond the confines of their solar system, reaching the farthest corners of the galaxy. On the planet Xeraxis, in the Andromeda Galaxy, Arch-Cognitor Vexlora of the Celestial Concordat stared at the holographic display with all four of her eyes widened in disbelief. The quantum entanglement communicator had just relayed the impossible. A nascent species from a backwater planet had not only deciphered the progenitor's gift, but had successfully built and piloted a ship using their designs. "Impossible," Vexlora muttered, her tentacles writhing with agitation. "We've had those blueprints for millennia, and even we haven't fully unlocked their potential." Her aide, a younger Xeraxian named Koldara, spoke up hesitantly. "Perhaps, Arch-Cognitor, this is why the progenitors chose to gift the designs to the humans. They saw potential in them that we missed." Vexlora's skin shifted colors rapidly, a sign of deep contemplation among her species. "Perhaps," she conceded, "or perhaps we have grossly underestimated these humans. Summon the Concordat. We must discuss this." Development. Across the galaxy, on the methane ice plains of Novus Glacis, the Kraios Collective was experiencing its own upheaval. The silicon-based lifeforms had long considered themselves the most technologically advanced species in the known universe. The news of humanity's leap forward sent shockwaves through their crystalline neural networks. Prime Integrator Frost7 addressed the collective consciousness, its thoughts resonating through the ice. "For eons, we have watched the warm bloods fumble their way across the cosmos. We believed our path of technological ascendancy was the only viable one. Yet these humans, in mere years, have achieved what we thought would take millennia." A chorus of discordant thoughts echoed back, a mix of fear, curiosity, and begrudging admiration. The collective had long debated making contact with other species, always deciding against it. Now they faced a new paradigm. Isolation might no longer be an option. Meanwhile, in the heart of the Milky Way, the ancient Aetherian Empire viewed the situation with growing alarm. Emperor Janexor, his energy form pulsating with concern, addressed his high council. "These humans," he intoned, his voice a symphony of harmonic frequencies, "they have bypassed millennia of scientific progress in one leap. The balance of power in our galaxy may shift dramatically. High Strategist Lumiera's form flickered with agitation. "We must act swiftly, Your Radiance." Perhaps a show of force to remind these upstarts of their place in the cosmic order. But Archdiplomat Cyrilon countered, his energy patterns expressing caution. "Violence may be premature. We know not the full extent of their capabilities. I propose a diplomatic mission. Let us gauge their intentions before we consider more drastic measures." As debates raged across the cosmos, humanity remained blissfully unaware of the stir they had caused. The United Earth government had commissioned a fleet of ships based on the Odyssey's design, each one pushing the boundaries of the alien technology even further. Captain Ilara Chen, now hailed as a hero across Earth, found herself at the center of a diplomatic maelstrom. As she prepared for a press conference, she couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was standing on the precipice of something far greater than they realized. The conference hall was packed with journalists from every corner of the globe. As Ilara took the stage, a hush fell over the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady despite her nerves, "I stand before you today not just as the captain of the Odyssey, but as a representative of all humanity. Our successful voyage to Alpha Centauri marks the beginning of a new era for our species. We have taken our first true steps into the cosmic ocean." She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "But with this great achievement comes great responsibility. As we venture further into the unknown, we must ask ourselves, are we truly ready for what we might find? And more importantly, is the galaxy ready for us?" Little did Ilara know how prescient her words were. At that very moment, as if in answer to her question, alarms began blaring in space monitoring stations around the globe. In the control room of the Global Space Initiative, Dr. Ava Patel stared at her screens in shock. "This can't be right," she muttered, running the calculations again. But the numbers didn't lie. Multiple objects had just appeared at the edge of the solar system, their energy signatures unlike anything they had ever encountered. As the strange objects moved closer, their forms became clearer. Ships, dozens of them, each one as outlandish and awe-inspiring as the Odyssey, but with designs that spoke of civilizations far older and more advanced than humanity's. Back at the press conference, an aide rushed onto the stage, whispering urgently into Ilara's ear. Her eyes widened, and she turned back to the microphone, her heart pounding. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice now tinged with a mix of excitement and trepidation, "I've just been informed that we are no longer alone. It appears that our advancement has not gone unnoticed. We are about to have our first official contact with extraterrestrial civilizations." The room erupted into chaos as reporters clamored for more information. But Ilara's mind was already racing ahead. The aliens were here, drawn by humanity's sudden leap forward. But were they here as friends, rivals, or something else entirely? As the alien fleet approached Earth, humanity held its collective breath. The most outlandish ships they had ever seen were no longer just their own creations. The galaxy had taken notice, and the response was arriving on their doorstep. The next few hours would determine the course of human history. Would this be the dawn of a new age of galactic cooperation, the beginning of an interstellar conflict, or something beyond their wildest imaginations? One thing was certain: the cosmic stage was set, and humanity was about to make its debut. The ultimate test. The arrival of the alien fleet had thrown Earth into a frenzy of activity. World leaders convened in emergency sessions, military forces were put on high alert, and civilians alternated between celebration and panic. In the midst of this chaos, Captain Ilara Chen found herself at the heart of humanity's first diplomatic mission to an extraterrestrial civilization. The United Earth government had hastily assembled a delegation, with Ilara as its head. As the Odyssey approached the massive alien flagship, Ilara couldn't help but marvel at its design. It was like nothing she had ever seen, a structure of impossible geometries and shimmering energy fields that seemed to bend the very fabric of space around it. "Captain," Lieutenant Corey's voice was tense, "we're being hailed." Ilara took a deep breath. Open a channel. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that defied easy description. It seemed to be composed of pure energy, its form constantly shifting and flowing. "Greetings, humans," the being spoke, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "I am Emperor Janixer of the Aetherian Empire. We have come to assess your sudden advancement." Ilara stepped forward, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "On behalf of humanity, we welcome you, Emperor. We come in peace and with an open mind." What followed was a tense but productive dialogue. The Aetherians, it turned out, were but one of several advanced civilizations that had been drawn to Earth by humanity's quantum leap in technology. Some, like the celestial Concordat, were cautiously optimistic about humanity's potential. Others, like the Krios Collective, were more wary. As the diplomatic talks progressed, Dr. Ava Patel made a startling discovery back on Earth. Analyzing the energy signatures of the alien ships, she realized that they all shared a common foundation, the same mysterious blueprints that had catapulted humanity to the stars. "It's as if," she explained to the United Earth Council, "some ancient race scattered these designs across the galaxy, waiting for species to grow into them. We're not alone in our journey. We're just the latest to join the cosmic community." But not all of the gathered species were interested in peaceful coexistence. As the diplomatic summit entered its third day, alarms blared across the gathered fleets. A new force had arrived on the edge of the solar system, the Void Harbingers, a militant species bent on galactic domination. The Harbingers wasted no time on diplomacy. Their ships, twisted mockeries of the progenitor designs, launched an all-out assault on Earth and the assembled alien fleets. "This is madness," Emperor Janixer's voice boomed across the communication channels. "The Harbingers seek to destroy us all and claim the progenitor technology for themselves." In the chaos of the initial attack, the diplomatic summit dissolved into a scramble for survival. Ilara found herself thrust into the role of impromptu fleet commander, coordinating the defense of Earth alongside alien allies she barely understood. "All ships, form up," she ordered, her voice carrying across human and alien vessels alike. "We need to buy time for the civilians to evacuate." The battle that followed was unlike anything in human history. Ships danced and weaved through space, their outlandish designs allowing for maneuvers that defied conventional physics. The Odyssey, piloted by Ilara, led the charge, its adaptive hull morphing and shifting to counter each new Harbinger attack. Dr. Patel's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, I've made a breakthrough. The progenitor designs, they're not just blueprints, they're a key." "A key to what?" Ilara asked, narrowly avoiding a barrage of energy weapons. "To unlocking the true potential of these ships," Patel explained hurriedly. "If we can synchronize all our vessels, human and alien alike, we might be able to tap into some kind of, well, I can only describe it as a cosmic network." It was a desperate gamble, but in the face of annihilation, desperation was all they had. Ilara relayed the plan to their alien allies, praying that centuries of mistrust and differences could be overcome in this moment of crisis. To her amazement, one by one, the alien commanders agreed. The Aetherian flagship pulsed with blinding light as it aligned its energy signature with the Odyssey. The crystalline ships of the Krios Collective resonated in harmony. Even the biological vessels of the Ziraxians pulsated in sync. As the Allied fleet moved in perfect unison, something extraordinary happened. A wave of energy cascaded across the ships, linking them in ways that transcended normal spacetime. In that moment, Ilara felt connected to every being in the fleet, human and alien alike. She could sense their thoughts, their fears, their determination. With this newfound unity, they turned to face the Harbinger fleet. What followed was less a battle and more a dance, a perfect choreography of movement and energy that the Harbingers couldn't hope to match. Harbinger ships crumbled under the onslaught, their twisted designs no match for the pure, synchronized power of the Allied fleet. In a final, desperate move, The Harbinger flagship attempted to ram the Earth, hoping to destroy the planet that had sparked this galactic upheaval. But Ilara was ready. With the combined power of the Allied fleet flowing through the Odyssey, she pushed the ship to its limits. Space itself seemed to bend around them as they intercepted the Harbinger flagship. The resulting collision sent ripples across the fabric of space-time, tearing the Harbinger ship apart while leaving the Odyssey, miraculously, intact. As the dust settled and the remnants of the Harbinger fleet retreated, a stunned silence fell over the solar system. Human and alien alike tried to process what they had just experienced, a union of minds and technology on a scale never before imagined. In the aftermath, as the allied species began to disentangle their consciousness, a new understanding dawned. They had glimpsed the true potential of the progenitor technology, not just as a means of traversing space, but as a way to bridge the gaps between species to create a truly galactic community. Ilara stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, looking out at the assembled fleet of the most outlandish ships she had ever seen. Human ingenuity had unlocked the door, but it was the combined strength of multiple species that had truly opened it. As representatives from each species convened to discuss the path forward, Ilara couldn't help but smile. The universe, it seemed, was stranger and more wonderful than they had ever imagined. And humanity, for all its flaws and stumbles, had found its place among the stars. The journey ahead would be challenging, filled with wonders and dangers beyond imagination. But as Ilara looked at the faces of her crew, at the shimmering forms of their new alien allies, she knew one thing for certain. Whatever the cosmos had in store for them, they would face it together, aboard the most outlandish ships ever seen.